FilmNet collection for members only. Offers this month. Surf shorts in specially treated cotton give a faded look in black or orange, in sizes from small to extra large. A smart bathing suit in cotton lycra with print on the front. Get it in orange, gray melange, or both. Sizes in small to large. And of course, we've got a big fluffy beach towel in 100% cotton, orange or white, with black woven print. It's an unbeatable price and a limited edition. So order yours now. Use the coupon in your FilmNet magazine. Quality and fashion for you, so make your own choice. FilmNet collection.
Nobody could have predicted that we would be sitting here today talking about it as Star Trek 3 is going on to cable television and Star Trek 4 is about to go into production. Yeah. There was no way to predict that. It's almost 20 years. Next year will be the 20th anniversary of the debut of the show on the air.
Bill Harris in Hollywood, and as Star Trek 4 gets ready to go before the cameras, the excitement is right here. It's another Showtime exclusive as Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, premieres here on Showtime all this month. But first, the star and now the director of the Star Trek sagas, Leonard Nimoy, comes down to Earth just for us.
When I researched Leonard Nimoy, first of all, we were neighbors once, born in Boston, and you were doing children's theater by the age of 8 years old. Mm-hmm. Are you one of those rare people who really knew that early, or was it just happenstance?
No, I backed into that. I was spending some time at a neighborhood settlement house in Boston. It was a place about 3 blocks away from where I lived that had after-school activities for kids, and including science programs and sports programs, and they had a wonderful little theater. And I was walking down a hall one day, just hanging out there one afternoon, and somebody said, "Can you sing?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" They said, "Well, can you sing a song?" And I said, "Yeah." So they said, "Okay, go in that room." And I walked in there, and somebody said, "Sing a song." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to sing?" And they said, "You know, God Bless America," or something like that. You know, and I sang it. And the next thing I knew, I was playing Hansel and Gretel.
Singing God Bless America?
Not exactly.
When I look back again, and I see a full scholarship to college, you stay there for a year or two, and you decide, no, I want to go to California, and in your own mother's words, broke their hearts. I presume that's an exaggeration, but it must have been a pretty serious move.
Well, you have to understand, you know, my parents were immigrants from Europe. I was a first generation born here along with my brother, and they came to this country with the idea that their children would have opportunities to be whatever their potential was. And for them, that meant to be professional people. To be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or a physicist or a pharmacist or anything but an actor. When I said I wanted to be an actor, it was as though I were giving up the opportunity that they came to this country to present to their children, you see. And they thought, well, that means a lifetime of struggling and never making a living and always hoping that you're going to get a job and that kind of thing. It's worked out okay, but I could understand their fears looking back.
In truth, because of your television work, and specifically a Dr. Kildare guest shot, that really cemented earning the Mr. Spock role, is that right?
Well, that was the beginning of it. I was working in guest roles and guest starring roles in a lot of the television series that were operating at that time. Actually, there was a series called The Lieutenant, starring Gary Lockwood, stories about a young man in the Marine Corps, which was being produced by Gene Roddenberry. I didn't meet Gene, but I did do a guest starring role in that show just about the time that he was looking about for people to work in a new science fiction pilot called Star Trek. Mm-hmm. And he liked what he saw in the work that I did in his show, in The Lieutenant, contacted my agent. Strangely enough, you could never, I could never make the connection between that role that I played for him and what he had in mind for Spock, because what I played in The Lieutenant was a very brassy, loudmouth, aggressive Hollywood film star who was going to make a movie starring himself about the Marine Corps, you see. Okay. And something struck Gene as being right or being useful. He did ask to see some other kind of film to give an idea of my range, and we showed him an episode of Dr. Kildare that I had done. Where I was playing quite the opposite. I was playing a very introverted, shy young guy who was in love with a young girl who happened to be blind. Mm-hmm. I guess between those two characters, Gene felt that there was something that he wanted to use. And he called and offered me the job of Spock in Star Trek.
And we talk about the creation of Spock and creating the character, but it extends to so many things. I read that Spock's skin was originally supposed to be red, but that the technology of television didn't allow that, right?
Well, it wasn't that it didn't allow it. We were fishing. Gene...
The black and white sets?
Yeah, we were all fishing for a look for Spock. And Gene originally thought that he might have red skin. There were a lot of black and white sets being used at that time. Red makeup would go black on television, and that on a black and white TV set. And that would make an entirely different comment. We didn't want to say that this was a black man. This was a man from another planet that was of an unusual skin coloration, not one that you would normally see walking around on Earth. Red would have been quite unusual, but on a black and white set it would have looked black. So we ended up with almost kind of a mustardy color, yellowish, greenish mix. And then, of course, Spock's blood was determined to be green, and we were off and running.
You were. Were the ears first, or was that a later refinement?
No, the ears were part of the original concept, and took some time to arrive at, because various makeup people were assigned to the job of making the ears. This is before we started making the series, I mean, in the experimental stages. And finally, there was only one way to do it right, and Freddie Phillips, who was the makeup man, knew that there was only one way to do it right. And he got it done right and saved my life, because some of the years that they'd had on me prior to that, I could have been Dumbo of the Year.
You're rather extensive.
They did not look good. Freddie found me a pair of cool ears.
Cool ears? There's so much trivia connected with Star Trek, and of course, God bless the Trekkies who saved the show. Are you amazed at the trivial knowledge, or do you have a pretty good grasp of it all, too?
No, it awes me. I'm in awe of it. I mean, I frankly have not taken the time to study those episodes in the depth and that some of the fans had, and they amaze me. I go out and do occasional college lecture appearances, and sometimes somebody in the audience will ask me a question about some episode, and I won't have the answer, and I'll know that somebody in that room will, and I'll say, does somebody here have the answer to that question? Sure enough, a dozen hands will go up. It's so-and-so, you know, the name is that character was such and such and was played by Harry's whatever, and it went on the air in March of 1967.
It's astounding. It's just astounding.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have surprised anyone if Spock had just been one of a cast of 8 or 9, but instead Spock became a co-star. Spock became, he endeared himself to America. What made him so special a character?
Well, you know, it's one of those amazing things that is, again, totally unpredictable. Something happens between the writing and the casting, the relationship between an actor and the character he's playing, the chemistry comes to life in some way. I thought we had, to begin with, a very interesting idea, a half-human, half-Vulcan alien who was fighting for control of his human emotions and denying them, and I think a lot of us go through a lot of that process during our lives. Also, a character who wanted to establish his own dignity on his own terms, and in a sense felt alienated from everybody else. I think all young people can go through that process at some time in their lives, so we all recognize that you can empathize with the character.
Alike but different, and...
Yeah, in a way, the character is, although we refer to him as the alien, in a way he's a very human character, very human character, a character that human beings can understand and relate to.
3 years, canceled. How did you feel after you'd finally come to embrace Spock?
Frankly, I felt at the end of 3 years that maybe it was time to stop.
Did you?
Yeah. I felt that our stories were running thin. I felt that our most creative people were kind of tired. It's hard to sustain that kind of intense creativity over a long period of time. And I began to feel that some of the stories we were telling were obvious and melodramatic rather than interesting. They weren't as good as the stuff we had done in the first 2 seasons. And I thought, if this is to go on this way, we will die a slow death and lose our edge, lose our excitement and our specialness. Why not just go off before it's too late, while we still have a good body of work that we can be proud of? And that's the way it happened. And I thought it was over. I thought that's the end of it.
So did the rest of the country. For the record, for those people who think you're still making zillions of dollars from the constant reruns,
no,
those stopped
nothing. 14
years ago.
Nothing. The residual money ran out, about 1971 or 72.
You credit George Lucas with getting Star Trek into the movie business.
Well, I really do. There was a reticence on the part of the studio, Paramount, who owned Star Trek, to move ahead with a motion picture, they played with the idea from time to time of going back on television with Star Trek, and gave that up several times. It seems to me they had plans and they dropped the plans. They had plans again, dropped it again. And then suddenly in 1977, I think it was, here came a picture called Star Wars. It had this enormous box office success. And I suppose the people at Paramount said, gee, we got one of those. It's called Star Trek. Let's do it.
In looking at the projects, in looking at the films, do you think that as a director, there's a chance you go overboard so that you don't favor Spock? That Spock might even get slighted in favor of the other crew members because you don't want to show favoritism to your own character?
Well, that's a possibility. It's a possibility. I think that the construct of the story for Star Trek III was such that that it called for a minimal appearance on my part, frankly. There are some people who have said that they would have liked to have seen more of Spock in Star Trek III. I can promise them they'll see more of Spock in Star Trek IV.
Thank you.
But I felt good about it because, on the other hand, many people said that they felt the story was about Spock. And there was a presence of Spock.
He was always
through
there.
much of the picture.
Yes.
He was dealing with the Spock question at all times, and a lot of people told me that they were very pleased with the picture and liked the appearance of Spock at the very end of the picture, recognizing his friends and so forth. You cannot please everybody. You simply cannot.
I think Star Trek III is the best in the series.
Thank you.
And you? Will you agree with that?
Well, I like it a lot. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
I make no excuses for it. There are some who enjoyed Star Trek II as much, if not more, than Star Trek III. Star Trek II was a little jauntier. Star Trek III was quite solemn. You know, we were really dealing with resurrection here.
Jim, help me. You left me on Genesis. Why did you do that? Help me.
Bones? What the hell are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Help me, Jim. Take me home. Bones, we are. We are home. Then perhaps it's not too late. Climb the steps, Jim. Climb the steps of Mount Seleia. Mount Seleia? Bones, Mount Seleia is on Vulcan. We're home. On Earth.
Remember.
Essentially, it's a more solemn film, a more mysterious, more metaphysical film, if you will, than Star Trek II.
It's more a Star Trek film, I think.
I thank you for that. I like to think they're both good films.
Yes.
And I think it stands up, I think Star Trek III stands up very well on the trio.
Weren't you surprised that some of your co-workers initially were a little dismayed when it was announced that Leonard would direct?
I think perhaps that they thought that it might be an ego trip on my part, that I might not be well prepared, I might not know exactly how to go about doing it, but I was well prepared and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And the actors, bless them, were the first ones to go public and say, gee, I hope he does another one, you know, so that was nice.
That was good. Star Trek IV. How much of a hint about storyline are you comfortable with giving? What will happen in Star Trek IV?
Well, I can tell you, and we have said publicly, that we do expect to have a lighter film than Star Trek III.
There have been reports. When you say lighter, I get curious again. Is there any chance that Eddie Murphy will have any part whatsoever in Star Trek IV?
I would love to have Eddie Murphy in a Star Trek movie. I think he's an extremely talented man and could bring a lot to any project, assuming it were right, assuming the character he was playing were right and so forth. But we don't have any specific plans, nor does anybody else right now.
Will Star Trek IV allow for the possibility of a 5?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. There's no reason in the world that there won't be any more. There probably will be more Star Trek films after this. But we're taking it one picture at a time. I have no idea. I mean, obviously, at the end of Star Trek IV, it will be possible to make a 5th. We're not going to kill off everybody, if that's what you're asking. Yeah.
Good.
Well, the Star Trek adventures just may go on forever, which is great news for millions. Our great news, these few minutes with Mr. Spock and Leonard Nimoy. Our thanks to them both. Bill Harris in Hollywood. Beam me up, Showtime.
Good shooting, Mr. Scott.
These fine hotels offer you FilmNet. For more information, call your local FilmNet office. Enjoy your stay.
American Graffiti. Where were you in '62?
Grab that special one and jump into your candy-colored custom or your screaming machine, cruise downtown and catch American Graffiti.
American Graffiti. Baby, what's that?
It's a movie.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Go back in time.
Where were you in '62?
Is that you in that beautiful car? Jeez, what a waste of machinery.
1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, rock. 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, rock. 9, 10, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, rock. We're gonna rock around the clock tonight.
What did you say? Someone wants me. Someone roaming the streets wants me.
And I bet you're smart enough to get us some brew.
A ballpoint pen, a pint of Old Harper.
Okay, you got an ID for the liquor?
Nah, I left it in the car.
You'll have to get it before.
Oh, well, I forgot the car.
We're finally getting out of this turkey camp. You just can't stay 17 forever.
If you ever get tired of going steady with somebody that ain't around, I'm up for grabs.
If I had a boyfriend, he'd pound you.
What's wrong?
Go to hell.
Get your boogaloos out, baby. The Wolfman is everywhere.
16 candles. You know Toby Juarez? We killed him last night.
Excuse me, I think we've had an accident.
Well, I won't report you this time, but next time just watch it, will you?
Can't stand it, man. I can dig it.
It's one of those great old movies about romance, racing, and rock and roll.
Oh, American Graffiti. American Graffiti. Where were you in '62?